Welcome to the Health by Haven podcast. I'm your host, Haven Quinlan. If you're a multi-passionate wellness enthusiast, then you're in the right place. I'm obsessed with learning as much as I can about the wellness world, and I want to share that with you. Each episode will dive into various aspects of health and wellness through inspiring and informative guest interviews with some solo episodes thrown in. Tune in for all things health, and let's have some fun, shall we? Welcome back to the Health by Haven podcast. We have a very fun episode today about the four-legged family members in your life. Today, we have my friend, Dr. Samantha Bronco, on to talk about your pet's health. Samantha is a graduate of the University of Tennessee's College of Veterinary Medicine, and she now works as an ER vet in Florida. In the episode, we get into the do's and don'ts of food, treats, playtime, heat, exercise, training, and more. She also shares advice for aspiring and current vet students and fellow vets to take care of their physical and mental health so they can show up better for themselves and their work. This is such a fun listen and a great way to make sure you're keeping your pets happy and healthy. So without further ado, please welcome Dr. Samantha Bronco to the Health by Haven podcast. Samantha, thanks so much for joining us today on the Health by Haven podcast. I am just so thrilled to chat with you about vet and pet health today.
So excited to be here.
So for people who are listening, Samantha and I know each other from when we both lived in Knoxville, Tennessee. We no longer live there, either of us. However, for people who don't know you, Samantha, could you just give us a little background, who you are, where you're living now, and what you do?
Yeah, I am Samantha Bronco, Dr. Bronco now. I originally went to the University of Georgia for undergrad and then went to vet school in Knoxville at University of Tennessee. That's where I met Haven at Pure Bar. I just recently graduated in May and started as an emergency veterinarian in Tampa, Florida at my first big girl job.
Which is so amazing and
Yes.
sounds like, everyone growing up, I feel like when you ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? Every kid is like, I want to be a vet because you get to be with animals all day. But I want to get into a little bit today, like what it's actually like. Vet ER sounds extremely stressful to me because I would be panicking day in and day out. So give us a little rundown of what it's like now that you're a doctor.
Yeah, it's definitely super scary, especially as a new doctor. You have no idea what's going on, and then you also have the chaos, like you were talking about. I thrive on chaos. I like I like having a lot to do, and my mind needs to stay busy for me to stay focused. So it's actually less stressful for me to be going. Um, a day in the ER can go from 0 to 100 in a matter of minutes. Really just depends on what's going on outside, especially the weather here in Florida plays a big role in how busy our ER is. Our ER gets super busy when it is very, very sunny, hot outside. We get a lot of heat stroke dogs here. So it can get really busy really fast.
Okay, well, let's just go into that then. I feel like I'm going to take our conversation all over the place, but I want to talk about vet health and vet student health, but I also want to talk about pet health because, a lot of people have pets. I think can be a very relatable topic. And so for that was kind of on my list of questions, right? It's like, especially in the summer months, we want to make sure our dogs are active, but we also don't want to put them at risk. So can we talk a little bit, jumping right into it, a little bit about dog health in the summer, like what we should be looking out for? When is it too hot? Give us all of your tips.
Yes. So it is very easy for dogs to go into heat stroke. It can happen within a matter of 10 minutes, especially for smaller dogs, dogs with smushy faces. So your Frenchies, your Bostons, your pugs. And then it can just happen any dog, especially if they're running around playing, doing all the fun summer dog things. So the most important things to look out for are drooling, uncontrollable panting, if they have bright gums or pale gums, if they're weak, stumbling, collapsing, those are all signs of heat stroke. Like I said, it can come out of anywhere. So just not overworking your pup. I am guilty of it too. Being a veterinarian does not mean that you do everything perfectly. My own dogs I've definitely overworked them sometimes because you do want them to have fun in the summer. But it's important to take a step back and be like, is their health more important than them running around having fun? For sure.
Yeah.
So things that I do instead of taking them outside, especially in Tampa in the summer, is I utilize Kongs, like feeding treats, a lot of more mental stimulation rather than
Mm.
physical stimulation, which is um, definitely something that pet owners forget about. Is that mental stimulation can be just as thrilling for them as running around at the park. So if you can make like puzzles or practice different commands with them, that's all working them almost more than them running a couple miles.
Okay, so listeners probably know my golden retriever Waffles is like basically my family, like she is up there on human level for me. And so I get really sucked in on social media when I'm getting fed things like, "Oh, your dog needs these enrichment toys. They need this mental stimulation." And to be honest, like I grew up with dogs, so that was never something I heard of before recently. So talk to me more about that. It sounds like that's actually a thing. That's not just like an Instagram ad, but talk to me a little bit more about the enrichment toys or games.
Yeah, so it does not have to be expensive and it doesn't have to be extravagant. Some things that I do with my dogs is slow feeders. That's a perfect one. Every morning, instead of just giving it in their regular bowl, you can put it in a slow feeder because they have to figure it out. My dog is notorious for figuring out those puzzles super fast. I have to change them out a lot. But instead of buying new ones, I find stuff around my house instead. So if you flip over a muffin tin and pour their food in between the muffin
Oh.
tin, that's something new that they can do. Um, you can, if your dog is not one that eats things and just will shred the paper, you can do like paper towel rolls or toilet paper rolls and put their food in there and crumple up the sides.
Mm.
They'll eventually figure it out. You can roll their food into a towel. That's another one. So it doesn't have to be expensive. You don't have to buy stuff from the pet store. You sure can if you want to, and if that makes it easier for you, but get creative and use what you have around your house. Your dog knows no different.
Okay, I love that. And, we got my dog one of those little puzzle things. I don't think she's graduated from the basic level. I'm not gonna lie. Goldens, they're really sweet, but they're maybe not the sharpest tool in the shed. And so we'll give that to her every once in a while. But I want to get back to the outdoor playtime since we are in the summer and I want to make sure we're keeping pups safe. My dog is a runner with me. She loves it. But I am mindful of like, I want to get her outside and get her some activity because we're in a tiny apartment, but also afraid of the heat stroke, afraid of the overheating. So thank you for giving us the like signs of if they're overheating. But what is a good rule of thumb as far as like temperature? Is there humidity involved? Like, what does that look like? And is it different for different types of dogs?
Yeah, so there's not a great rule of thumb for temperature or humidity. Every dog is kind of very individual when it comes to that. It definitely depends on things like their weight, their coats, if they're like really fluffy versus if they've got a shorter coat, if they have other issues like heart disease or respiratory disease, if they are old, if they've got that smushy face. So I'd say a good rule of thumb is to keep it in the morning or keep it at night, never in the middle of the day when it's the hottest. Um, you also have to pay attention to how hot the surface that they're stepping on is.
Yeah.
So, a good rule of thumb for that is if it's too hot for you to walk barefoot, it's too hot for your dog to be walking. They essentially have their paw pads are similar to your feet. They definitely have a little bit more resistance to them than we do. But if it's too hot for you to walk, it's going to burn their paws. So just keeping it when you would feel best running is probably when they
Hmm.
would feel best running. And then keeping it shorter than you think. So if they're starting to get tired or show that they're tired, that's a good time to stop instead of pushing it just a little farther, because that can be just the trigger that switches it.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, sometimes when I'm taking my dog, we always pause halfway. We never go past a 5K. But whenever I make her stop, she's like itching to keep going. She's like, dude, why are we stopping? Like, I'm ready.
Yes. And that can be something that dogs are so loyal that they want to do what you know, like what they know makes you happy.
Mm.
And also, like you said, a lot of our dogs have not that many marbles in there. And so they will work themselves to death because they just don't know the consequences of their own actions.
Oh my goodness, crazy. Okay, I want to talk about pet food as well because this is yet another rabbit hole I've gone down on the internet of looking up different brands of food, looking at food quality. I care a lot about the quality of ingredients I'm eating, so I want to make sure I'm caring about that for my pet as well. But I've also gone on the rabbit hole of like, well, should I be cooking her all of her food? I know there's lots of conflicting advice, so would love to hear your hot takes on this one.
Yeah, so I would say that I'm partially biased in this question because I did work for Hill's Pet Nutrition in the past. So I'm biased. I feed my dogs Hill's food. But as a veterinarian, I think for me, it's important that you do your research. It is a brand that's recognized and something that you have personally read the ingredients, you've read about the company and that your dog likes or your cat or pet likes. I think that is super important that your dog is eating it.
Hmm.
Um, it at the end of the day, it's food, it's nutrition that you're putting in your body. And if they're not eating it, then they're not getting it. So you could have the best food in the world, but if they're picky and they're not eating it, then they're not getting what they need out of it anyways. Um, I don't necessarily have like, this is the best food. I think there are so many good foods out there. Um, my hot take, though, if I had to pick one, is that I don't support raw diets,
Mm.
just because they do pose such risk for people and your
Hmm.
pet in catching things like salmonella.
Absolutely, which we definitely want to avoid.
Yeah.
Okay, and then same with cats, I'm assuming. We don't want,
hmm
what about like raw fish for cats or no?
Yeah, I feel like I don't ever really have raw fish in my house.
Yeah,
I'm
fair.
like, I also don't cook very much. My husband does a lot of the cooking in our house. So I say in small amounts, it's probably fine, especially if you wash your hands. But just see how your cat reacts. If there's any vomiting, any diarrhea, then those are signs that, hey, maybe your cat's not tolerating that. It can
Mm.
just be important to pick a food that is well recognized because it has testing behind it and you know that there are the proper amounts of every nutrition
Hmm.
um, piece that you need. If you are feeding them simply raw fish, you're not going to have every piece that you need. So just making sure that it's a well-rounded diet. And you can definitely do home cooked meals as long as you are doing your research and making sure that you have every piece of the puzzle.
Okay. Probably making it more of a challenge on yourself though, if you're doing
It
that.
is very hard. I am a veterinarian and I do not cook for my pets.
Good to know. You're like making me feel less guilty for that.
Yes.
Okay, what about socializing our pets? Dogs or cats, but probably particularly dogs. What do you recommend for that?
Yeah, socialization is extremely important, especially when they're young, but you need to make sure that you're doing it in a safe way. So, especially when you first pick up your puppy, they're 8 weeks old, they're adorable, you want to take them everywhere. It's so important to reserve yourself and keep them home for some of that. Make sure that they're only around other vaccinated dogs. Make sure that you're not overwhelming them all at once because that can create a negative response. Um, but when you take them out in public, you don't know the status of every other dog. You don't know who follows their vaccines, who takes their dog to get checkups, whose dog is coughing all over the sidewalk. You just don't know. So keeping it to a minimum until your pup is completely vaccinated. But socialization, super important. is basically the foundation for their personality.
Okay. And as far as socializing them with other pets versus like children and adults, like any tips on kind of introducing them into your family or into your friends' lives?
Yeah, if I had to pick one word to sum this up, slow.
Mm.
Everything needs to be really slow. And I think we are so eager and excited about our pet, and that's great. I mean, it's what you want. You're excited about this new family member, but it can be extremely overwhelming, and you have to remember that they're a baby, and all of this is new to them. And so throwing everything at them at once can just cause them to shut down. So introduce them to one thing at a time. So if you have children in the home and other pets and adults, maybe it starts out that it's just the human people that this dog is meeting. And then over the course of a couple weeks, start introducing them to the other pets. And I know that can be very challenging in the sense that, like, you have one house, how much can you separate it?
Hmm.
Um, but utilizing baby gates and like areas that you can close off. So, like, bathrooms are a great spot. And I know, again, people are like, I don't want to trap my puppy in a bathroom for the first 3 weeks that I have them. But to them, it's much less overwhelming than having a new house, a new set of family members, new pets. So just closing them off and doing very, very slow introductions, I think is really important. And then, especially with other dogs, having them both on a leash, you cannot predict how either of them is going to react. So being able to have a handle on both of them, if things go south, you can pull them out of that situation.
Absolutely, which we never want to expect, but I guess it's like
Yeah.
plan for the worst and hope for the best.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I just was visiting one of my friends last weekend and she just got two little kittens. And she was
Okay.
talking about almost like what you were saying with a separate room. She said at the shelter they adopted their cats, they recommended doing like 3 days in a small room, 3 weeks in a medium room, and then it takes them like 3 months to get used to their whole house. Is that a rule of thumb that you go by as well?
I have heard that before for sure, especially it also applies to like shelter dogs,
Mm,
except they go up a little bit. It's usually 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months.
wow.
So it's important to remember that this is, again, all new to them. And so you need to give them time to adjust to their new environment. They're going to develop a different personality from the first time you saw them, and they're going to become this different animal, but you need to give them time to like show you that.
Okay, I had never heard that before. And, I've always grown up with pets, but I was like, I guess this makes sense, Like it could be very overwhelming to all of a sudden be like
Mhm.
essentially airlifted into a brand new space and not know where you are.
Yeah, it's essentially, I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, it's the same way I felt when I moved. I didn't try to
Yeah.
do everything the first day I got here. I didn't try to explore my apartment and my new city and a new workout space and meet new friends and meet my new coworkers. That would have been so overwhelming to do in the first couple days. So thinking now, I'm like, okay, I took 3 months to kind of do that. And I
Yeah.
feel so much less overwhelmed than if I tried to jam it all into such a short period of time.
A great perspective. For training, any tips and tricks you have? And I know a dog trainer is very different than a veterinarian, but I know that's something that people are considering when they're getting, especially new dogs, making sure we're leash training them, we're crate training them, we're getting them used to going out and about in the world, we're getting them used to hearing commands. And some learn faster than others, and some things are more challenging than others. So, would love your thoughts on all of that and if you have any advice for people.
Yeah, I think the biggest advice is consistency is key. So doing it over and over and over, even when you're tired. I think the biggest thing, especially when you think of like potty training, it's like, oh, I don't feel like taking them out every 20 minutes. And it's annoying and it takes a long time and it's inconvenient, but you get out of it what you put in. And so you're going to get quicker results if you are more consistent. And so it is like it's a job basically. I mean,
Yeah.
you're taking on trainer for this pet, especially if you're not sending them to a training facility. Um, So just staying consistent and recognizing that, again, they are babies in a sense, like they're going to make mistakes. Keeping it positive, though, is super important. They're much more likely to learn quicker when you're doing positive reinforcement. When the opposite is like negative reinforcement, I would
Yeah.
avoid that.
Yeah, certainly. Do you feel like it's true what they say? You can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Oh, no, I disagree with that entirely. Old dogs can definitely learn new tricks, especially if they're food motivated.
Oh, yes.
Dogs will do anything for a treat.
My dog, especially. I feel that. Okay. Any other things on pet health that are maybe things we wouldn't consider that you feel are super important that people who are considering getting a cat, a dog, really any pet, we're kind of keeping it to cats and dogs because they're the most common, but anything you want to make sure like new pet owners are aware of?
Yeah, I think first one, I'm an emergency vet, so I have to put this out there. Know where your closest emergency is and know their phone number. It in an emergency situation, the last thing you want to be doing is trying to Google the address and the phone number, trying to figure out where they are. Just have a plan because if you have the plan, you hopefully don't need it.
Mm.
But not having a plan and needing it, you're going to be scrambling, and that's the last thing you want. Um, Another thing for any pet owner, old, young, to recognize is that obesity in pets is a huge issue right now.
Mm.
There are many studies that have shown that a leaner dog can live up to 2.5 years longer.
Wow.
And when you think about the lifespan of a dog being, up to about 15 on average, 2.5 years is a big amount. And so just remembering that as much as you want to love them with treats and food, sometimes your love can actually kill them. So just remember that treats are not everything, and you can reward your pet with many, many different things, whether that's scratches, belly rubs, walks, new toys, just finding different ways to reward your pet other than food. And remembering that read the back of your bag. There's calorie content, there's ideal feeding amounts. Ask your vet. That's what they're there for, is to help you make a plan and help you determine how much to feed your dog, because portion sizes are weird, especially with dogs. I mean, you want to feed them more than what looks like that tiny bowl amount, but that's
Mm.
really all they need.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, speaking of treats, are there any either brands that you really like or like are there quote people food treats like a carrot or something that you feel like is a good option that's maybe like a lower calorie food if your dog is really food motivated?
Yeah, so I love giving my dogs like carrots, green beans. They occasionally will eat like blueberries, or I give my dogs the tops of my strawberries when I cut them up. They love those. I know
Mm.
they're just like leaves basically, but
Yeah.
they do really like those. So any fruit and vegetable is a healthy option, but again, moderation. You can still give them too many calories worth of carrots or blueberries. So just keeping it to a small amount. Um, as far as treats, I utilize my Hills treats just because that's what I've always used. But I think same thing applies to treats as does their actual food. Read the ingredients, do your research, and find what they like.
Okay, beautiful. I want to shift us over a little bit into more of the vet side of things. So, first, I want to know why you became interested in becoming a vet and how you decided to make that into your career.
Yeah, for as long as I can remember, wanted to be a vet. I definitely had a couple years where I wrote like, I want to be a teacher or I want to be a dancer. And then I like really figured out that maybe those aren't exactly what I want to do. Um, but I can't pinpoint an actual spot in my memory where I'm like, that is the time I figured out I wanted to be a vet. Um, and they ask you on your applications, like, why did you become interested in being a vet? And you're always told when you're applying, like, never write that you love animals because,
Yeah.
of course, you all love animals. That's why
Yeah.
you're here. Um, but truly, that is why I'm in this profession because I love helping pets. Um, I think something that a lot of people don't realize is that people go into the veterinary field because they like people too. Um,
Mm.
People often say, "Oh, you must go into the vet field because you hate like talking to people." And I'm like, that's actually the complete opposite because that's all I do all day is talk to people.
Yeah.
Um, I just love the problem solving that comes with the veterinary field. They can't tell you what's wrong, and their humans only tell you what they can see. So there's a big puzzle in finding out why they're showing signs the way they are. So I really like using my brain that way.
Yeah, very investigative. You're right. You never really think
Mhm.
about the dog can't, or the cat, or the animal that you're working on can't communicate with you.
Hmm.
Okay,
And sometimes you wish
interesting.
they could.
Honestly, it would make things easier,
It would.
right? Quick check in. How's your body feeling today? If you've been carrying old tension, maybe from an old accident, childhood braces, or just life doing its thing, then you're not alone. At Avoda Massage Therapy in Columbia, South Carolina, they offer something called craniosacral fascial therapy, or CFT, and it's amazing. This gentle, hands on technique helps unwind layers of stress and strain your body's been holding on to, sometimes for years. CFT helps your body move and flow the way it was designed to, improving mobility, calming the nervous system, and supporting your brain's natural function. Many people feel lighter after just one session, while deeper healing unfolds over a few visits. It's never too late to start feeling better, and your body already knows how to heal. Sometimes it just needs a little help. So go check out Avoda Massage Therapy in Columbia or learn more at avodamassagetherapy.com because healing feels so good when your body finally lets go. Now that you've gone through school, which I know is no joke, getting into school, no joke, getting through school, no joke. Now you're transitioning into a world of ER vet, no joke. Like, I want to hear from you tips and tricks for people who are interested in this field or who are in this field or a related one, how you're managing stress and how you're prioritizing your mental health.
Yeah, so I like to say that my job should be the least interesting thing about me. I love my job. It is essentially a hobby for me because without it, I don't know what to do. I don't have a ton of other hobbies. But when people think about you, they should know things about you that aren't just your job. So I don't want people to think, oh, Samantha Bronco, she's a vet. I want people to think, oh, she's a vet, but she also loves to work out. She likes to read. She likes to travel. So just remembering that your life is not your job. There are so many more important things about you that are more interesting.
And honestly, couldn't we all benefit from that sentiment, no matter what field
Yeah.
you're in?
Hmm. And your job can be something that you love, and it should be a passion of yours, but it shouldn't be the only passion you have. That's what leads to burnout is putting all of your energy into one single passion.
I know the vet field, it's very important to prioritize your mental health. That's a field where I think the statistics are pretty grim as far as mental health goes. And so, what are some things that you like to do, or your friends or your colleagues like to do to make sure you are also taking care of yourself and not just all the animals that you're seeing every day?
Yeah, so big thing for me is I prioritize my workouts. It is a part of my schedule. It's not something that I go to when I have time. It's something that is booked into my schedule. So if I work at 7 a.m., and that means that I don't get off until 7 p.m., which usually turns into 9 p.m., I make sure I go to the gym at 5 a.m. And to some people, that's absolutely wild, absolutely crazy. And sometimes I wake up and I say that to myself, this is absolutely wild. This is absolutely crazy that I'm up this early. But if you book it into your time, it's me time. It turns into me time. And once I'm up and doing it, I feel so much better just getting a little bit of movement in. And it doesn't always have to be a super intense workout. Maybe you are super tired and it turns into, I just need a 20-minute walk. And that is your de-stressor. So just making sure that you book time for you. It doesn't have to be a workout. It could be reading time or um, time with your friend, going out to eat. Book it and stick to it because it can be really tempting to cancel plans when you're tired. And sometimes you do need to. If you are super tired, you should definitely listen to your body and take that time off. But just also sticking to those plans can be really important.
Yeah, and I know it can be a fine line too. It's like, okay, am I needing to sleep because I'm tired, or am I using it as an excuse? And you kind of have to be honest with yourself in that realm as
Mhm.
well.
It can be super hard to determine, am I lacking motivation or am I truly like tired? But your body will tell you, especially like if you're continuing to be sore multiple days after your workout, or you are not having an appetite anymore, or your eyes are drooping down, or you're getting headaches, like take a step back and realize, okay, I might need to find a place to relax.
Yeah, and those are all great, like physical signs that are a little more black and white that you can look to when you're like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm just using this as an excuse or not. And like
Yeah.
honestly, again, no matter what field you're in, right? These are like helpful tools that scheduling time for yourself, in the states where most of the listeners are in, we're all prioritizing like work, work, work. It's number one. Like we're living
Mhm.
to work instead of working to live. And I love that you're like, no, you need to have things outside of your job that make you happy, that define you, that fill your cup so that you don't burn out. And I think that could be true
Mhm.
in any industry.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, any resources as someone who knows nothing about the vet field, any resources for vet students or for vets as far as physical or mental health that you want to share if there are any aspiring or current vets listening that can help with, yeah, like physical and mental health, emotional stability, all of it.
Yeah, especially at school, if you're already in like veterinary school or another professional school, your clinicians, your professors, they are a great resource just because they are super smart and they know what feels like everything. At one point they were also in your shoes. So I think they tend to understand a little more than someone from the outside, and they're most often willing to talk to you about things outside of the vet world. I had a specific mentor in vet school that was one of my professors, and we hardly ever talked about actual class stuff. It was always outside of class stuff. And sometimes you just need that. You need someone that has been in your shoes, that understands what you're feeling, and can guide you to other resources that they've found, or just sometimes you need someone to say, like, yeah, it sucks. You just
Yeah.
need someone to tell you that it sucks and you will get through it because look at them, they've made it out and they made it through too.
I love that. And we could all use that as well, right? Somebody who's lifting us up when we need a little extra boost.
Hmm.
Okay, I want to hear your favorite and least favorite parts of the job. So, like what you love, and then maybe the things that are challenging or can be a struggle.
Yeah, I've only had like 2 weeks of work so far. So, some of my favorite parts, I work for an open concept ER, and
Mm.
that is my favorite part. I thought when I first was externing at this place that it was going to be overwhelming having pet owners like right up close to you while you're doing your physical exam, while you are doing procedures, while you're doing surgery.
Wow.
I thought it was going to be very overwhelming, but it is kind of peaceful. Um, it definitely helps the flow of work because I'm not having to go in and out of rooms all the time. helps me keep eyes on my patients and my pet owners because, again, I said that's one of my favorite parts about the job is talking to the people too, and making sure that they're okay because being in the ER is very scary. And so
Mm,
I want to have eyes on not only the patients, but the pet owners too. So I think that's my favorite part.
wow.
My least favorite part is the part that everybody hates about vet med, which is, the part where you have to say goodbye.
Yeah.
It's especially difficult in the ER setting because you're a lot of the times forming a relationship with the patient and this pet owner for the first time. And in such a vulnerable state, that can be very difficult to allow them the space they need to grieve, but also support them. Um,
Mm,
when you might not know everything about that pet or about those people. And so that can be very challenging. And it does take a toll on you. But at the same time, it is a nice part about the job because you get to be there for them. You are that support system when they might not have anybody else. And you're doing the most kind thing you can do for that pet in that moment, which is allow them to no longer suffer.
yeah, absolutely. How do you separate from that? Like when you go home after a hard day, like how I feel like I would be emotionally carrying that through the rest of my day. How do you protect your own peace in that?
Yeah, I allow myself to feel it because I think when you tuck it away and try to not think about it, it bubbles and eventually it will spill over. So if I want to cry, I cry. Like it sometimes it's embarrassing, especially when again you're in an open concept and people can see you, but it's sad and you're allowed to feel sad. Um, I also will come home, I'll tell my husband about it. And sometimes he doesn't want to hear about it, and I respect that. And I'll be like, okay, maybe time for another day conversation. Um, but just being able to talk about the situation and get it off your chest can really help you to like process that you did the right
Mm,
thing for that pet. And I also have a lot of great vet school friends that go through the same thing I do every single day.
mm.
And so we lean on each other and just we talk about how hard the case was, and we're just there for each other to tell the other people like it's okay, you're gonna make it through, you made the right decision, and it sucks, but it's gonna be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's such a beautiful thing to have the love of a pet in your life. And it's hard because you know they're not, most cases, they're not outliving you, but it doesn't mean that it's not worth like feeling that love and having that extra member of your family, even when you know it's going to be hard too. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely the hardest part about pet ownership is the part where you have to say goodbye, but you remember that like you're their whole life. Like
mm,
all they've ever known is you, and you did the best that you could for them. And they definitely recognize that. And so I would go through the heartbreak of losing a pet a million times to have the memories that I do with each of my pets.
absolutely. Now, I know that you went through a lot of different rotations when you were in school, when you and I were both in Knoxville. So, how did you determine through those rotations, like, oh, I like love this aspect of being a vet, or oh, this one's actually like not for me? And did any of that surprise you?
Yeah, I actually had no idea that I liked emergency before I started vet school. Um, I went to what we call like a lunch and learn. So different companies will come and talk to you over lunch, talk about their ideals. Sometimes they'll talk about research that they've been doing. And my company had come for a lunch and learn, and I went to this lunch and they had talked about their open concept. And I was like, gosh, I'm terrified of ER, but this open concept thing is really cool. And it's such a niche part of vet med.
Mm,
There's not very many open concept places. And so it really intrigued me. And I was not expecting to fall in love with the ER side of it too. Um, so that's kind of when I started thinking, oh, maybe I could try out some ER stuff. And once I put those two together, I was like, okay, open concept, ER, yep, this is the spot for me. So it really did surprise me um, that I had no idea that ER was going to be the thing that I went into.
Yeah, and I've literally never heard of that until you were explaining it on this podcast, which is so wild to me. And I do feel like if I were in your shoes, I'd be stressed. I'd be like, I don't want you watching over my shoulder the whole time. But it's very cool too to let them feel like the owners feel included in the
Mhm.
care.
Yeah, I mean, as a pet owner as well as a veterinarian, when I take my own pet to a place that I can't do their own care, um, it's grueling. I hate leaving my pet. I took her in for a specialized orthopedic surgery a couple of years ago, and I had to walk out without her. And I bawled, and I was like, "This is so embarrassing. I'm a veterinarian. I should be
Yeah.
crying walking out of this hospital." And that was kind of a moment for me where I was like, "Other pet owners feel this too." And I'm super lucky that I work in the field. And so I don't often get into that situation. I'm usually with my pet the whole time. And so it was that moment where I kind of realized this is what everyone else feels like when we take their pet to the vet.
Hmm.
They lose sight, they don't know what's going on. And so, of course, it's human nature. You think the worst. You think the
Yeah.
worst is going on back there when in reality, that's not what's going on. But it can be very stressful for you and your pet to be separated from each other. So,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. The separation anxiety. Like, I have a very Velcro dog. And so, yeah, when we took her to get spayed and we had to drop her off, it's just like heartbreaking because she's like,
mhm.
where are you going? Why are you leaving me? And then, of course, you're worrying when they're going into surgery, even though it's a very standard surgery, it's still like nerve wracking. So, yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, what a beautiful thing that your company is giving people the opportunity to like be with them.
Yeah.
Okay, parting advice for anyone who's thinking about going to vet school, who's anyone who's in vet school, anyone who's a vet who needs some encouragement, some advice, some words of wisdom to get them through a tough time. I want to hear your parting words for them.
Yeah. Never give up. It is a very difficult process to get into vet school. There's only like 50 something vet schools in the entire US. And just way, way, way too many of us that want to go into the field. And so it can be very difficult to get in, but just because you don't get in on your first try, try again. I'm the perfect example of that. I did not get in my first time. And I thought, sure enough, I was going to get in. I had almost a perfect GPA, as many hours as you could think that you needed. I thought I was the perfect candidate. And when I got waitlisted to three different schools my first time applying, I was devastated. Um, and that would have been the perfect time for me to say, okay, packing it up, I'm doing something else. But I didn't. I used that gap year to make me stronger. I took in more hours and I called each of the schools actually to chat with their admissions directors and just see like what else did you want to see from me? So you're entitled to that feedback. So call them. Um,
Yeah.
I think one, it shows initiative, but two, you get exactly what they want out of you so that you know what to do better for next time. Um, but just stay consistent. You can definitely get in. It might just not be the exact track that you initially planned for.
Yes, great advice. We're cheering you on, all you listeners who want to be vets. Okay, I have a fun little rapid fire for us to end on. This is purely your own opinion, but a couple of animal ones and then a couple of health ones. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Dogs or cats?
Dogs,
Night shift or day shift?
night shift.
This one's silly now because of all of our ER talk, but surgery or well visits?
Oh, surgery.
All right. Workouts, morning or evening?
Morning.
Running or walking?
Walking.
Lifting or body weight?
Body weight.
Juice or smoothie?
Juice.
Coffee or matcha?
Coffee.
Salad or bowl?
That is such a hard one. I don't even know if I can decide.
It's okay. They can be a tie.
Yeah, that has got to be a tie.
Pizza or pasta?
Pasta.
Tacos or quesadilla?
Tacos.
An early riser or night owl?
Night owl.
All right, Samantha, where can everyone follow along? I know that you are sharing your journey as a new vet online. So if they want to keep up and get the behind the scenes and all the advice, where can they follow along?
Yes, on Instagram, I am Dr.Bronco.
And we will link it in the show notes too. So definitely go give her a follow. It's a very fun little behind the scenes into the life of a new vet. But Samantha, thank you for joining us today. Thanks for giving all of your advice for aspiring vets, for pet owners to keep their pets healthy. I just loved getting to catch up with you.
Oh, it was so good to see you, Haven.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Health by Haven podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to give the show a 5-star rating and leave a review. It makes such a huge difference in reaching new people and spreading the joy of healthy living. I would also be so appreciative if you subscribe to the show in the listening app of your choice so you never miss an episode. Your support truly means the world to me. Have a happy, healthy day, and I'll talk to you again soon.